Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Daily Newcastle, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. I'm Michael Grameslow, and today we're not just talking about another Premier League preview. This is the Tyne Wear Derby, and to talk it through with me is Ian Mackay and Kev Iain. Kev, I'll start with you, buddy. It's been a while. How you been?
I'm good. I mean, what a time to come back and, oh my God, this game, honestly. This is the game where you can tell who the pre-takeover fans are because they're absolutely pooping themselves. And the post-takeover ones who are like, oh, it's only Sunderland. I'm like, what are we talking about? We can't lose this game.
Well, I'm probably sitting in the camp at number 2 at the minute. So. No, I do agree. I am I'm a bit more nervous than I should be, to be honest. How about you, Ian? You doing well? I know we only spoke.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I am doing fine still, Michael. I've managed to survive that 5 minutes between finishing the last podcast and starting this one. But I'm feeling fairly relaxed about it because I don't mix with very many Sunderland fans at all. Back in the old days where they turned up at work, turned up at college, turned up when you went out, it's a bloody nightmare to lose that. You have to be incognito for 6 months till you win the next one. But not now. Don't really mix with them. I'll give you my secret.
We've got quite a lot of work, and some of them I'm in a Secret Santa with, and I can imagine if we lose, my Secret Santa gift's going to be thrown out the window. So, but less about my work antics and Secret Santa. Let's get into the real Christmas present for everyone, and that is the return of the Tyne Wear Derby in the Premier League. And obviously, we're going to frame this from a Toon point of view. 15 games have gone in the league. We sit 1 point behind Sunderland. And to be honest, that's something that felt pretty unthinkable back in August. It was turbulence, difficult summer, injuries to a few players. Inconsistency has been arguably our biggest consistency. Well, that and conceding late goals and from corners. And the fact that we're incredibly fragile away from home. But this is a little bit closer to home. Ian, do you feel like this is actually the biggest game of our season so far, or is it not even the biggest one of the week?
Well, we did have that laugh, didn't we? That it's Sunderland's biggest game for 9 years, and it's only the third biggest game in the current 8-day period for Newcastle, which is not true. I think it is a pivotal game for us in terms of the rest of the season. If we can win this and jump into the top 10, it sets us up so nicely for difficult but winnable games at home against Chelsea and away at Man United. And then we've got, if we're going into that unbeaten in 7 and 8 games, we've got a really nice run of Premier League games through into January. Home games against Leeds and Palace, away at Burnley. I think by the end of January, if we win this, push on, we'll be there pushing for the top 6 easy. If we lose it, all of that momentum that's built up over the 6 games since the international break, our balloon is popped, isn't it? It's really hard to then get up for the rest of them. I think it's huge.
What about you, Kev? Do you share the same thoughts?
Kind of, but I think if we do lose, I think we're guaranteed to then win the quarterfinal at home. I think the players will be desperate to put it right, and the only way you can put it right after losing a game like that is by rocking up at home in a quarterfinal and convincingly putting yourself in the semi. So pros and cons both sides. I think, like what you made a good point at the start, it was like inconceivable we'd be 1 point behind by the time the first derby came around. But let's be honest, as much as I hate to say it, I'm about to wash my mouth out. Sunderland have been the story of the season, haven't they? Like they genuinely have. Like you look at what happened last year with the promoted teams. Sunderland coming up the way they came up, like they weren't even favourites against Coventry. And then they beat Coventry, and it was like, and then went on to win the final. And you just think they're never going to last. They're going to absolutely. But then smart recruitment, good home form, and to be fair, they probably are the story of the season. But we're about to absolutely pop that bubble in about 10 hours after people listen to this.
Yeah, something like that. Definitely going to be one of those where if we don't win, we probably won't be heard on this channel for a very long time. But if you do, you can expect every hour content rather than everyday content. But looking at the statistics, Opta, and everyone loves Opta, they've given us a 50% chance of victory. Sunderland only 26%. What do you think about that? Is that about right? Because I think 50%'s a bit high.
Where do we get this crap from? We have an awful away record and we're the away team, and we have a great home record. Well, pretty good home record, and we have a home team. What a whole load of crap. I mean, on paper, I would agree with that percentage because we should have a lot more. We've spent a lot more on our whole squad, almost like $500 million in the entire squad. Obviously not the starting 11, but the entire squad.
Yeah.
And then you look at Sunderland coming up from a championship, and this isn't even being disrespectful because, like I've just said, I'm trying to be as fair as possible. They are the story of the season, but a newly promoted team. Yeah, a lot of players going off to AFCON who won't want to get injured, and I'm thinking, will that have a say? Not maybe going into some of the big tackles, which, I mean, there's no chance of Byrne, Joelinton, Tonali, Bruno pulling out. They don't want to get injured for AFCON. So, yeah, I can see why them percentages might exist if they completely forget about one team's away form and the other team's home form. But, yeah, other than that, a whole lot of rubbish.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Ian,
I've got a different view. I think that's good. I think that's right. Our away form, we had 2 or 3 really dodgy games, didn't we? We were unlucky against Brighton. We should have won it, and they scored. Danny Welbeck popped up at the end, so we lost to Brighton. West Ham and Brentford were bloody awful. But we've stuffed Everton at their new place. We've got a draw at Leverkusen, which we're unlucky not to take all 3 points. We lost at Marseille, but I think we outplayed them for 70 of the 90 minutes. I think our away form is coming back. And the stats that I'm more concerned about are Newcastle having thrown away 11 points from winning positions. That's the worst in the Premier League. Sunderland having gained 12 points from losing positions, which is the best in the Premier League. And Sunderland having scored a goal in the last 5 minutes on 7 times already this season. And we've conceded 8 goals in the last 5 minutes this season. I know the stats are horrible. Those stats are horrible, but that's the past. That's the past. We're unbeaten in 6, aren't we? And that includes defeating Manchester City, away draw at Leverkusen. Yeah, I think we win. I think we've got too much for them.
You've brought us down and then you've rose us up at the end like a true leader. We're galvanised now and we're going to move forward with the fact that we're going to win this. Because our game management has previously been shocking, but there's no better time to change that. But Kev, psychologically, tactically, or personnel-based, what is the issue with that? Because Leverkusen in midweek was very painfully familiar, and I'm not 100% sure if it's just one thing or if it's a multitude of things, but why do you think we're so poor in the last stages of games?
I'm not 100% sure, because if I was, I'd be working very high up in football. But I think a lot of it comes down to, because we've done this multiple years and seasons and held on and had good clean sheet records, and we've sat deeper and done really well. So when I've kind of thought about it or tried to think a little bit outside the box, I think for years we had Pope, Botman and Byrne or Shaw, or it was Byrne and Shaw. I mean, Botman in that season we finished 4th first time round. But we've always had the kind of solid, experienced players, Byrne, Shaw, Pope, Trippier, all quite old.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you look at our back line, we have quite a bit of an experience in terms of age. So Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, and Malik Chow, as good as Chow is, he's still very young. And on top of that, you're then bringing in a goalkeeper in terms of Ramsdale through injury to Pope, who, when we bring in Dubravka in, he's a lot older, more experienced, knows how to see games out, knows when to go down, knows when to come for it, knows when to kind of push up, push out, all that stuff. I'm not saying these players don't know that, but I just think in terms of game management, they haven't done it as much as our previous kind of back 4 or 5 have. So, in my opinion, I think it's the communication between Ramsdale, the new goalkeeper, and the defence, but also the average age of a defence this season has completely, like, it's more than 50, it's halved, because Shaw's not playing as regularly. Chow's come in, who's young. Hall, hopefully staying fit. Left back, very young. Tino, hopefully staying fit. Right back, Trippier's injured, so that experience goes. I think it's something to do with that, but I could be completely wrong, and I've made that up on the spot, if I'm honest.
Hey, to be honest, it is one of those that sounds about right, doesn't it, Ian? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think What are my thoughts? I think it's down to individual errors. I think Tonali was out on his feet the last 15 minutes of the game against Leverkusen, and it was Tonali not doing what he normally does and chasing back. I mean, I thought it was a really good goal. I thought it was a very clever dummy.
Was a
And
good
it
goal.
took Tonali out of the game, but Tonali would then be normally chasing the guy down, and he didn't. He let him go, and he was the one who it was played through to score. So individual error there. 2 or 3 individual errors in the defence to let that overhead kick from Romero creep over the line.
That's just a freak.
I mean, there was nobody marking the back post when Burnley so nearly pinched an equaliser. Somehow, having been outplayed for 92 minutes, they nearly came away with a draw. So yeah, I don't know what it is. Is it tiredness? It shouldn't be tiredness, but I think Howe needs to make the right substitutions at the right time. I think the substitutes were all too late against Leverkusen. Tonali didn't come off, did he? Or did he right at the end? Tonali was gone. Tonali should have come off after 65 minutes because I could see that he was knackered. He did one lung busting run. Did you see that? He lost the ball and chased the fella all the way back.
Yeah,
that was it. He was absolutely exhausted after that. So yeah, I think it's individual errors that, if they happen every game, start becoming a mental problem. So we've got to put things right. Let's start on Sunday.
100%. It's a case as well of we haven't had that confidence of getting a clean sheet very regularly at all this season. You know, the last, maybe I'm wrong, but the last one I can think of was the Athletic Club game in Champions League. I think it's 8 games we've conceded in a row in the Premier League, and when you think back to when we were so good in Howe's first full season, it was because we never looked like conceding. You know, Arsenal, I remember the 0-0. They could have put, I mean, even last season, we could have played them for 400 minutes in a game and they probably still wouldn't have had a clear-cut chance.
Yeah.
So it is our longest run of both teams scoring in games since like the 1960s. And it's one of those where you've got to look at us and go, when are we going to get that elusive clean sheet? Because, as you say, too many individual mistakes, but are you confident that that's going to change, Kev? Because, as you say, it is an experienced backline, but it is a very good one.
It is a very good backline, but I just think game management's one of them things. I'm just trying to think, and obviously at a lot lower level, but when I play football, it's like I'm so different now mentally at the end of a game than I was when I was 19. I was like, get up the pitch, go, kill them anyway, do it anyway. And then as I get older, it's a bit like, nah, let's not be stupid, like keep it. So I think it's a little bit of age, but it is a very good backline. I think Sunderland are bound to score. I just think in a derby, they're at home. It's their biggest game in 9 years. Our 3rd biggest game this week, like you've already said. So they're gonna be well up for it, and I think we're gonna have to come back. But I think we're more than capable of coming back. But what's gonna be awful, right? And I'd kill to be in this position now. I'm not even gonna pretend that I wouldn't. But what's gonna be awful is if we are 2-1 up and it's 88 minutes and we're sitting back. I'm gonna have to turn my telly off, take the dog out, I have to do something because I will not be able to watch that last 5, 6, 7 minutes. It's just horrendous. But yeah, I think both teams will score again on Sunday. I really do.
I agree.
Do you think the difference is this season, because we've got Champions League again, our intensity, which is our identity, is kind of part-time intensity? I don't know if this Bunce fella coming in has got us playing slightly differently to try and contain ourselves to be lasting longer for the season, and that's why we seem to sit back. That's why Miley comes off and Shah comes on for the last 5 minutes against Tottenham. That is saying we're just going to sit back and absorb what you've got. But if ever they needed some encouragement to have a second shot, because it was only the second shot on target to score the second goal, it's giving up the midfield and saying you can come up to the edge of our box and do whatever you like.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that is partly to do with a change in the way we're playing it. If you remember those games at Bournemouth and West Ham, we weren't intense at all. We weren't intense against Bayer Leverkusen in the first half, really.
Yeah,
in selected parts, but not all out like we always used to be. You know, that game where we attacked Tottenham, were 5 up at half time. We were just on it 45 minutes.
If only we could do that every game. I was I was going to make a point there as well about the Leverkusen game. You're right with what you're saying, because we tried to sit off Tottenham when we brought Sean and it didn't work. And then Leverkusen, we hit the post twice. Once after going 2-1 ahead, we were still, and Flecken pulled off a worldie of a save to keep it at 2-1. So it's almost like we're trying to, right, we've tried to sit back, it didn't work, so we're now going to go and kill them. We've hit the post and we keep us pulled off a worldie and we conceded again. It's like, I went back to what I think Michael said before. It's like that mentality then comes in of, so one of them seasons is just this part of like, it's just this rut we're stuck in where like we literally can't do it. We need that confidence. We need to do it once or twice on the bounce and then think, right, now we can go on a run. So it would be a great time to start on Sunday, but whether or not we do will be interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those. We kind of need that confidence from there. And I think one person that, just before we go to our first ad, one person that you could really see a difference in them from a change in confidence is Anthony Gordon. And I think he's going to be one of those that's massive for us in this game. Might not even start, knowing Eddie Howe. But I think he'd be massive in his change in form after a bit of confidence. He got the penalties against Union St. Gilloise, but performances, let's be honest, they haven't been great.
Yeah.
But against Leverkusen second half, I thought he was brilliant. And the last few games, we've started to see the Anthony Gordon that, we thought we were going to get at the start of the campaign. Do you think it's one of those where a good defensive performance against Sunderland, whether we'll still probably concede, as you say, but not conceding late on, that could be a catalyst to, go on and actually end that going forward? What do you think, Ian?
To be honest, I don't think this is a game where we will set any patterns. I think this is a war of attrition. This is a derby. All the form goes out the window. It's down to the bounce of the ball. It's down to if Tonali slips again, for example, something daft like that. I don't think there'll be anything that you can take from that and go, oh well, that's how Newcastle's season's going to unfold over the next few games. Like it would be on a different game. I just think I think we'll win. I'd be delighted if we don't lose. I'll put it that way. Because it's just like a lottery, isn't it? The bloody derby.
Yeah, 100%. You agree, Kev?
Yeah, pretty much. It's not going to be. I don't think I've ever seen a derby game where it's been a good game of football. The only one I can kind of think of where we played relatively well, and we only played relatively well in the second half, was a 4-1 win at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah.
The second half we were good, and Zogbia showed up. Luke looked like a clinical finisher when he dinked the keeper. I remember even Lee Clark was in the middle of a midfield, like really old Lee Clark, and he did very well in the second half. So, yeah, I can't remember too many. Even the 3-2 at home with the Emery free kick, that was scrappy and it wasn't a good game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not going off history. It's not going to be a good game. It comes down to who wants it more, who gets a little bit more rub of the dice, and oh God, please be us.
Well, I'm going to leave you with the thought that it might not be us while you sit and ponder about our first advert, Bionique.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Now, when you talk about the history of the Tyne Wear Derby, recent history is pretty uncomfortable for Newcastle fans. Sunderland, unbeaten in their last 9 derbies. We haven't won a Tyne Wear Derby in the Premier League since 2011, and we've lost our last 3 away league games at the Stadium of Light. But history cuts both ways. We've never in our history lost 4 consecutive away league games. And if you do remember, January 2024 was pretty comfortable. And I'm not expecting that on Sunday, but the reason for that is because we're going to see 2 very, very different sides. Sunderland, 9 out of the 11 will not be there and won't be playing. Only Trey Hume and Dan Bollard will likely score. own goals, hopefully again. But they'll be the only two that play. I say score. I was going to go into the next point that out of the two squads, Dan Ballard is the only one that has scored in this fixture. And obviously, it was a glorious, glorious goal. But Newcastle will have some changes as well, quite a few. Ian, I'm going to ask you first. What lineup are you expecting to see from Newcastle?
I have thought about this all day and before the Leverkusen game, and I'm going to go for, if Pope's fit, Pope will come back in, but if he's not fit, Ramsdale. I'm going to Tino and Hall at fullback, Byrne, and I would put Shah alongside Byrne and let the scary Chow, who showed a few cracks, have a day off, because he's not had a rest at all. I'd bring Shah back for this. He knows what it means.
Experience.
Bruno, Tonali, and Miley, and I'd Gordon on the left, Voltemada in the middle, and Murphy, who has experience of winning at the Stadium of Light, on the right. That's my starting lineup.
He does. I'm going to make a slight bit of a defence for Malik Chow, that he is probably the only player that I can think of off the top of my head, maybe Bruno as well, who have played probably in a fiercer derby than Newcastle Sunderland this time at AC Milan. So that would be probably the only reason for me he would definitely be there. But Kev, any changes you would make from Ian's lineup?
Yeah, couple. So Ramsdale in goal, fullbacks pick themselves.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any other fit ones. Now, normally I would come on a podcast, and I've done it recently, and I would say Chow and Shaw have to be the centre halves because, in my opinion, Chow and Shaw are our two best centre halves. However, to Derby, Byrne gets it.
Yeah.
I would go Byrne and Chow, even though I would normally always advocate for Shaw to play, because Shaw for me is still one of our best centre halves. But for the Derby, Byrne and Chow. Midfield, Miley, Bruno and Joe Linton. I know Joe Linton hasn't been great, but this is the type of game where you need somebody with 4 lungs, and he has 4 lungs. We're going to need it. It's going to be intense. He is a master at that. The only reason I'm dropping Tonali, he looks absolutely knackered. And on top of that, I think he's been, not that he's been poor. I'm not saying he's been poor, because he hasn't. He's still a very good midfielder, but he hasn't looked at the levels which we've kind of become accustomed to. I think a step out would be good for him, and maybe bring him on. So that's, and I think Miley getting a goal against Leverkusen earns him that spot. Eventually, I maybe agree with Ian's midfield. If Joe Linton still doesn't pick up, then have the Tonali there. But for this game, Miley, Bruno, and Joe. Then I think we've got to go, as much as I love Jacob Murphy, Barnes right, just because he's a goal threat. We'll hopefully get them on the break. Gordon left, looks like he's back to his best in Big Nick through the middle. And the reason I would do that as well is you've got Byrne and Miley, who are very local lads. You've got Bruno and Joe, who are the biggest adopted Geordies going. And then you've hopefully got the composure up the top with Gordon, Barnes and Voltemada. So for me, that's a good mix of mentality for this game. But yeah, that would be my team for this derby.
Yeah, to be honest, mine's kind of like a halfway house between the two years. But I was actually thinking while you were giving yours there, Kev, Ian's back two of Fabian Schär and Dan Byrne is something that we haven't actually seen too much this season. And we were talking about inexperience just there. We were talking about inexperience. Having two centre-backs who have been there and done it might just be the answer, actually, thinking about it. Not saying Malik Chow is the problem, because he's one of the best centre-backs I've ever seen in a Newcastle shirt, in my opinion. But yeah, raising Joe Linton there, if he is fit, it seems 50-50 whether he'll play or not. You've both put Miley in there, if I remember correctly. But Joe Linton, performances recently have been very, very poor. Do you think this is one of those games where you maybe protect him because of poor performance? It's been mentioned quite a lot in the media recently. Joe Linton's never had a red card in the Premier League. I imagine some referees going to change that. So is this the perfect game to protect Joe Linton, do you think, maybe? Or do you think your bruisers there, you need to give Xhaka a kick in the first 10 seconds?
This is the game for him to get his form back. If you remember, I think Joe Linton's last excellent game where I thought, wow, that's what Joe Linton would become accustomed to, was the Man City game at home. He was excellent. So good. Big game, big atmosphere. I think these are the games where you need him. I'm not saying, obviously he's 29 now, I think. So he is going to get older. He is going to kind of naturally should become a worse player. But for this game, you just need, you need that, not hot-headedness, but that aggression alongside someone as calm as Miley, and then somebody kind of in the middle with Bruno, who's a little bit cleverer with kind of making fouls. Don't get me wrong, I'd bring Joe Linton off about 60, 65 minutes if it's not going well and bring Tonali in, but at least Tonali's then had the first hour of the game off and can hopefully influence it in that half an hour, because I think a lot of the issues for Newcastle at the minute, a little bit like what Ian said before, is make him a substitute early and bravely, but then having quality to come on, like imagine Tonali off a bench in a derby would be lovely. Whereas I think Joe Linton doesn't give you as much off a bench. He's better to start. He's better to start that game, and then Tonali to give you a little bit of quality and calmness. Hopefully, when you've already got the lead.
Yeah,
I'm a bit concerned. I picked Tonali because I thought he's less crocked than Joe Linton, because Joe Linton came off with a groin injury and Howe didn't know afterwards how bad it was. But if they're both crocked, I've been impressed enough by Joe Willock to think that he could be the third midfielder.
He'd be next in. Yep.
And leave the pair of them on the bench, might get half an hour out of each of them. But I don't mind starting with Willock, Miley, and Bruno.
Legs.
No, I think it's one of those where every time Joe Willock has come off the bench, I've not been impressed. But every time he's started a game, I've gone, you know what? Kid might still have a future here, because although against Bournemouth, defensively excellent, I know he started on the left. But it was one of those where you were looking at him going, you know, he might be back. Then started against Tottenham, got the assist in the 2-0 win, played well. Marseille, I thought he was decent. And again, against Burnley, I thought he was decent. Certainly better than what Jacob Ramsey was. So, you know what? Joe Willock, we were saying in the summer, would probably ship him off. Really been listening, and he's thought, you know what, I'm gonna raise that price tag, get people interested, because he has been very, very good. But he isn't the only one. And Ian, you've been advocating for Lewis Miley to be in the Newcastle team for a very, very long time, longer than I can remember. How impressed have you been with Miley in the last few games?
I've been, well, super impressed. I think he changed the game against Leverkusen. Came on for Joe Linton. We suddenly gained control. Scored twice. Hit the post. Could have scored a Chow header. Could have been clear. And that was Miley's influence. It was immediate. And I don't think that's a fluke. I think, you know, he was very good against Everton as well when he came on. Did he start against Everton? Can't remember. Very good against Everton. Scored in both those games. There's a goal threat now. He's bulked up. He's 6'4". He did a fantastic late run into the box to head that goal against Leverkusen. Eddie Howe says he's a brilliant player. He's got everything. There's a goal in him. I just think that's a step up from one or two of the midfielders who would normally be first choice at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's keep him on. Let's not let him wither on the vine like Elliot Anderson, where we ended up selling him, and now he's going to get an England team built around him. Let's have Lewis Miley. Lewis Miley's playing for the under-21s now at 19. I think if he gets a run in the first team, he might force his way into going to America. There you go.
If Miley ever needed a Tinder profile, just ask Ian. Wow, I fell in love with him. He's 6'4". He's calm on the ball. I was like, I fancy him a little bit here.
Did you not see the smile he had when he scored as well? It meant so much to him.
What a lad!
His face nearly fell in half because his smile was so big. I just loved it. And I think he's a Geordie, isn't he?
Stick him in a derby.
You agree, Kev? You've been impressed by Miley in the last few games?
Massively impressed. I loved him when he first came in, but I was kind of one of the ones where I was like, don't kill him too early. Don't put him in over and over again just because he's young and he's been forced in and done well. And honestly, I think ever since I've been doing podcasts with Ian, which is now in the multiples of years, he's always said Lewis Miley is going to be an absolute player. And I've always been a little bit in between of, will he just be like another Longstaff, hard-working, good grafter? But I think he's already shown now he's come into a team that he's got the potential to be a very, very, very good player.
Yeah,
you can see that he's picked up some really good habits from Tonali and from Bruno, and the way that he protects the ball. He'll just turn away from the defender and take a foul, and he's learned that off those guys.
Yeah.
But he's better at it now than the pair of them.
Not Bruno.
Some games.
Bruno's had the best season. Honestly, I think Bruno got a bit of stick early on in the season, right? It's honestly, in my opinion, since seeing him at Newcastle, it's his best kind of personal period. Not for the team, because we're not doing as well as we want to do. But in terms of Bruno, like grabbing games by the neck, with Liverpool, when we're down to 10 men, Bruno was immense.
Oh, yeah.
Dragged us through it. Even he came off a bench in another game after that, and I thought he scored, actually. He came off a bench and scored. And he grabbed that game by the throat. The Burnley game, he was pretty good, not as good as normal. And then the Man City game, he was unbelievable. A couple of passes and that. And I think, you know what, Bruno gets so much, well, around where I just sit around idiots. But Bruno gets so much stick. And I think, you know what, he's been our best midfielder for donkeys. He doesn't get the praise Tonali gets anymore, but he should, because Tonali's the new shiny one. I just think Bruno has been our best player this season so far. He's been so good.
100%.
Miley is the new shiny one, Kev. Miley's the new shiny one.
Yeah, Miley is now. Tonali will start getting probably stick.
Yeah, probably will. I think it's one of those we've always said add goals.
He's dropped off a cliff in the last 3 or 4 games, I think. I know Tonali was like a Duracell bunny, fantastic in the first part of the season. But since he's been ill, he missed a couple of games through illness.
He did.
He's not got anywhere near what he was. I know he's been kicked a few times.
I'd love to look at our record with Miley this season, because Miley came in for Tonali when Tonali was ill. You've just reminded us there, and we won both games with him in the centre midfield. And I think his record starting for us must be pretty good. So I've now absolutely convinced myself that Miley and Bruno start and just play one more with them.
Very interesting.
Al can pick himself as a third midfielder.
Yeah, stick him in.
And you ask and you shall receive. I've got it right here. So when Miley has started this season, we have drawn at Bournemouth, beat Bradford 4-1, beat Benfica 3-0. He came off the bench there. Started against Fulham, where we won 2-1, although that for me that was his worst game of the season.
It was, yeah. Still won.
Started, we won 4-1. Tottenham, he started, we drew 2-2. So we are unbeaten.
Told you.
Lewis Miley has started this season.
Stick him in.
Yeah,
big game.
Lewis Miley is clearly the difference.
Also, we need to have a chant or something a bit better than what he's like. I don't know. He's from Stanley. He only costs £2.90, and then I'll let people make up the rest. But we need something for him, don't we?
Yeah, we're not the most creative when it comes to chants. But let's bring it to a close. We've got 33 minutes there, a lot longer than I thought that was going to be.
Burn's going to score.
Probably going to add another 5 doing our predictions. So the Opta supercomputer goes it our way of 50%. On paper, we do have a bit more quality, but this is probably going to be the most hostile and one of the toughest away environments of the season. Kev, I'll ask you first. Give me your prediction for Sunderland versus Newcastle United.
I don't want to say my prediction. Right. I don't think we're going to lose. I'm really tempted to predict what my head says, which is a draw. Mm-hmm. But I'm psyching myself up. Lewis Miley's going to start. We've got Geordie lads in there. I've convinced myself about the balance with the passion from the Geordie lads and the composure of the front three. Gordon being back to his best. Big Nick wanting to become an icon. I can only see Sunderland 1, Newcastle United 3, even though I'm lying to myself, but that's what I'm going for. And I'm also delaying because we're on 34 minutes. That's the number of Granite Jacket, and this episode cannot have a 34 in it.
Oh, it's all right. It definitely will not. Ian, Kev has stolen your 3-1.
He has. Hasn't he? Right, I'll tell you what. I'll say it was 3-1, and it should be 3-1, and we should win 3-1, but Sunderland will score from a corner in the last minute.
3-2.
We'll win 3-2.
I'd love a 2-goal cushion going
Good
into the
prediction.
Yeah, I am the pessimist of this channel, aren't I?
I wanted to go draw, to be fair, but I can't bring myself to do it. The reason I want to go draw, right? Ballard has had the transformation of like some sort of half decent player out of nowhere from the last time we saw him. He is bound to score on Sunday.
Yeah.
If I had to put a bet on, it would be Dan Ballard to score because he had a shocker. He's bound to score. Guaranteed him to score. So that's why I'm going 3-1.
Yeah, he's got something to prove, hasn't he? First derby, he was probably the worst player on the pitch. That Swedish fella, forgot his name now, tore him apart.
Talking about. Don't know who. They said about anyone from Sweden other than Antti Elanga, but
Hey, Emil Kraft.
no, big Kraft. He's Brazilian. Krafu. Krafu's Brazilian.
Sorry, how dare I? No, I am going for a 2-2 draw myself. I think it's going to be back-to-back 2-2 draws.
That's what my head says.
Be identical to the Leverkusen game. I want to say 2-1. I think we'll be leading 2-1. I don't think we'll ever go behind in the game, to be fair. That'll be the difference. But we'll concede from a corner, look vulnerable late on, although we'll have control over most of the game and look pretty decent coming out of it. But it'll be another game where we feel like it's 2 points dropped. Ian, I need something positive because I've just brought a massive downer to the pot.
I can predict every scorer.
I watched Sunderland are a point ahead of us in the league, so they have had a better season than us marginally. However, you look at the last 6 games, Sunderland have only won 1 in their last 6 games. And I think we're on having won 4 and have we won 3, drawn 2 and won 1 of our last 6. So we're in much better form. And also 2 goals, 4 goals. We've scored 6 goals in the last 2 away games. Come on, that's the 3 that we're going to get.
You know what? I'll take that. 6 goals in the last 2 away games. 6 more coming now on Sunday. I wish. But thank you both for joining me. This has been the old Tyne Wear Derby special of the Daily Newcastle. Notice there's not a Daily Sunderland. Yeah, they ain't that important. Part of the global.
Not that big.
Yeah, anyone would listen to it, so it's fine. But if you've enjoyed this episode, it was a little bit longer because it is a massive, massive game. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, share it with your friends, unless they're madams. I've been Michael Grahamslaw.
Too busy working this one.
In fact, share it with them after we win on Sunday. We're going to see what Newcastle United are really made of. And for now, it's goodbye.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports